Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Polk County Office of Veteran Services, thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart, and on this installment of Today's Veteran, we talk about a program that helps veterans relieve stress on the water and get back to nature. But we start off the show with Good Shepherd Hospice. Good Shepherd Hospice strives daily to provide the highest level of care for their patients. Care is provided in a respectful, compassionate manner. They recognize the individuality of the patients and treat them according to their own unique needs. They also participate in the We Honor Veterans program, building the trust that they've established with their patients and their families through the years by recognizing the unique needs of our nation's veterans who face life-limiting illnesses. More than just service, We Honor Veterans is an orientation into the hospice philosophy that includes veteran-specific education for their team to better serve veterans and their loved ones. We Honor Veterans is focused on respectful inquiry, compassionate listening, and grateful acknowledgement. Joining me in studio is Walt Godwin. He's a chaplain for Good Shepherd Hospice. Welcome to the show, Walt.
Well, thank you, Brian. Good to be here.
Also joining us is Peg Parche. She's a Good Shepherd Hospice volunteer coordinator. No rookie to PGTV Studios. You've been here before with us.
Yes, I have. Glad to be here today.
And last but not least is John Duncan. He is a veteran and Good Shepherd Hospice volunteer. As I promised you in the pre-interview, John, I'll be easy with you, brother. Peg, for those that don't understand or have never heard of Good Shepherd Hospice, tell us a little bit about what Good Shepherd Hospice does.
Good Shepherd Hospice provides hospice care for those with life-limiting terminal or chronic illnesses who've been given a prognosis of 6 months or less to live. We provide services homes, in nursing homes, and of course at our inpatient facilities at our hospice houses.
Now, one of the things that you guys do that we're here to talk about today is veteran programs, and Good Shepherd Hospice really understands that the sacrifices that the veterans have made throughout their life, and you guys are helping them with it. How did the veterans programs come about?
It came about back in 2010. The VA realized that only about 25 to 30% of our veterans were getting end-of-life care through the VA, and the rest of us civilians providing care were not aware of the special needs of our veterans at that time of their life. So through this partnership with the VA, the National Hospice and Palliative Care Association brought education to hospices throughout the nation, and we were one of the first to sign up, and we were one of the first to reach level 4 status, which is education for our staff and building of our veterans volunteer program to bring vet-to-vet services to our patients and families.
And speaking of staff, the man that knows a lot about the program is Walt. Talk to me a little bit about the program itself. What is it and how does it work?
Well, one of the things that we're part of the We Honor Veterans program, this is a nationwide organization. One of the things that they emphasize is what's called veteran pinnings. And this is just one of the ways to honor our veterans. And inside that pinning ceremony, we present a very nice certificate, and we personalize it as much as possible with information on there. But when it comes to the Vietnam veterans, because they were never welcomed home, came 50 years late, we place on the certificate "Welcome Home," and we encourage all those that are participating in the ceremony, family included, to go and personally welcome that patient home. And it's a great way to honor them. We also present a number of items, but one that they really appreciate
That is my favorite right there.
is the Afghan. And this is the last thing we place on the veteran in the ceremony. And they're designed to be lap robes, and each one is unique depending on who makes it, and volunteers all across Polk County makes these for our veterans. And they're very much cherished, and it's not uncommon to walk into a patient's room in the hospice house and to see them holding it right up to the end of life. And they are also used in ceremonies, memorial services and things like that. And one actually placed the Afghan in the casket with their loved one at the time of death. The other thing that we do when patients die, we have special codes that we initiate. And for the veterans and law enforcement and fire and rescue, it's code Stars and Stripes for military. Code Star Blue for law enforcement, and Code Star Red for fire and rescue. When the patient gets ready to leave the room at the hospice house, we place a special flag that we've had made on the patient, and we play Amazing Grace bagpipes as we're leading the body out. The family's encouraged to participate, and they follow behind the body as we're moving toward the transport vehicle. Our staff and volunteers come off the floor, form 2 processional lines, and all the military that's present will honor him or her with a military salute. When we get to a particular place where we have a flag just similar to this that's hanging on a wall, we pause, we fold the flag military style, and we have a very large ship's bell on the wall, and we ring that 7 times. And the first ring signifies life, the beginning of life. The next 5 is the journey of life, and the 7th ring is the end of life. And then they escort them out to the transport vehicle in which the family proceeds with.
Walt, you're a veteran yourself. How much easier is it for you to relate to the family being a veteran? And then how is the program, from your experiences, received by the family and the veteran?
Well, the veterans are typically more open to tell their story if another veteran is there with them. And often in this storytelling time, families are learning things for the very first time. We had a gentleman that was just retiring 30 years out of the Navy, and he discovered that his grandfather actually had served in the military, and they were very close, and he didn't know that. He did not know his grandfather had actually been in the military until he came to visit him, and we were doing a pinning ceremony to honor him. And it gives them an opportunity to open up and to deal with their questions that they have. A lot of times they want to know, what does the VA have to offer? What is available for them? So it opens many doors for us.
One of the things that's quite unique is you have a program where volunteers can get involved, and we're going to talk with John in just a moment. But you encourage veterans to volunteer with you. Explain why that concept works.
Veterans, they have a unique language. They have their own culture that's very different than the non-military. And anytime that we can connect veterans with veterans, we're able to help them to come to, shall we say, a more peace at the end of life, to obtain that. And that's one of our goals, is to try to help everyone to obtain peace before they pass and on that journey. And veterans are able to do that. And John is a really, really good example of how we pull that off and how we accomplish that.
John, talk to me a little bit about how you got involved with Good Shepherd Hospice, not only through the Veterans Program, but in meeting them to begin with.
Me to begin with, I was, through my church, I was a minister to the sick, and it involved the hospital, and I was in the palliative care area a lot. And I didn't have problems with the patients as much as I did with the family. So I went to Good Shepherd Hospice, learned how to deal with the families. And then I got invited to help out with the veteran pinning program and everything. And I feel it's been very rewarding to me. It's a very special part of my life.
One thing that you're doing is giving recognition to veterans, especially the Vietnam vets who, like Walt said, never had that. Talk to me about the importance of of what you're giving to them, what you're providing to them, and what, not only that, but what it means to you.
It is my honor and privilege to visit with them and speak with them and make them feel they are loved and appreciated. Because we all took an oath and signed that on that dotted line for whatever it took up to our life. And they was not treated well when they came home from Vietnam. And anything I can do to help them or any other veteran, I would be honored to do.
Is there any one story that you could share with us that that's going to stay with you for a lifetime?
Yes, sir. I went to a pinning in a home one time with another chaplain, and this gentleman, he was a 20-year veteran. And I talked to him because he had been in Korea, and I like to ask him if they was at the Chosun Reservoir to find out if they was one of the chosen few, which was one of the bigger battles in the Korean War at the Chosun Reservoir, where we had about 15,000, I think, Allied troops, and there's over 60,000 of the enemy, and that's why the ones that got out there, they called it chosen few. And so he was not one of the chosen few, but we talked about many things, and his family had encouraged him to write a book because he talked about his time in the military. And what it was, he started out as just a farm boy. His dad was a sharecropper in Alabama, and he kept putting a story together about his life. He served so many years in the Army, then he finished it out in his career in the Air Force. And the book he called From Being Barefoot to Combat Boots. And he shared about, he said, they asked him what was the big difference between the Army and the Air Force. Well, he said the accommodations was a lot nicer. He said, but the thing is, I wanted more rank to retire with, and they wouldn't give it to me in the Army, so I transferred to the Air Force, and I got my rank that I wanted.
That's a great story, along with the many great experiences that you've been able to share as a volunteer through Good Shepherd Hospice, and I thank you for sharing your time with our veterans, John.
My honor and privilege.
Now, Peg, for veterans like John that are out there, how can folks get involved? What are some of the things that they can do? How can they make this program better for Good Shepherd Hospice?
We are always looking for more veterans to help us with this program. I have a request right now, just a veteran who wants to talk to another veteran, spend a few hours with them, help do our veteran pinnings in the home. Just be there for them, because I think, like these guys say, they speak a special language that we don't, and it gets a chance for them to open up. So go to our website, which is tapestershealth.org, and fill out an application. That application comes to me, and I'll give you a call, and we'll set you up to start this great experience.
Well, Walt, Peg, John, I appreciate everything that you guys have done, and look forward to hearing the great things that you're doing within our community, and really would like to have you guys back on again and tell a lot more success stories. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on Good Shepherd Hospice and the We Honor Veterans program, give them a call at 863-583-3127 or look them up on the web at www.chaptershealth.org. We'll be back with more of today's veteran right after this.
VetCatch is our organization that helps take disabled veterans and bring them down here, do some fishing in Florida, enjoy the Sunshine State as much as we do.
We're going to post it on our website and make it available to any veteran to be able to apply, to be able to come out and do it with us. It's an opportunity for us to be able to recognize our nation's heroes, people who went out there and made that sacrifice, giving them something back once they finally made it home.
Welcome back to today's veteran. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart. VetCatch is a Florida-born organization dedicated to using fishing and boating to focus on physical and mental healing for our disabled veterans. They are committed to restoring a sense of self through positive connections, outdoor adventure, and relieving stress on the open water. Joining me in studio is Jeremy Gordon. He's the Vice President and the Director of VetCatch. Welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Talk to me a little bit about VetCatch. What exactly is it, and how did it get started? And now you guys have moved to Florida. So talk to me a little bit about how you got here.
Well, actually, we've always started it in Florida. It's just that neither one of us, me and my partner, the president, Bill Rutherford, have actually been in Florida for most of the time that we've been operating. We came up with the idea originally in Fort Bliss, Texas, there where we both were, and we kicked it all off. He came back to Tampa, started everything up here, and then after that, he took a contracting job in Afghanistan. Now, this entire time, I've been there in Fort Bliss in El Paso. So I finally said, you know, we've moved along far enough that somebody has to be here hands-on. We can't keep doing this thing through emails and phone calls. So what we do is we take disabled veterans out on fishing trips in order to deal with physical and mental disabilities. You know, it's therapeutic for people that have any physical injuries, for one, because of all the motor skills and everything that it takes to do it. And then as for anybody with psychological issues, it lowers cortisol levels inside of the brain, which is a chemical that's elevated inside of the mind of someone with PTSD. So just one fishing trip can be something that'll reduce those levels for up to 3 weeks. And so we started with that, and we've been running it now for a couple years that way. But you know, like I said, just now I'm moving here on ground, so now we've expanded more into local meetups where we're bringing veterans together, letting them have that camaraderie together again, hosting events. Yeah, just kind of up and down the coast right now. It's anywhere from, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours south of here to 2 or 3 hours north is kind of what we've been flexing in, and it's going really well. But our biggest thing is just trying to make an impact in that veteran community where, you know, well, we got our whole 22 a day suicide statistic, 1 active duty, you know, that we're trying to be able to combat. So we have our own push for that. We call it I for You 22, and it's just all about being present, living in the moment that you're in right now, and trying to live life to the most and enjoy it. You know, so instead of dwelling too much on the negative side of things, because you can easily, if as a veteran, when you start looking into what's going on in the United States, we try to look at it from the positive and all the positive things you could be doing, all the type of actions, because nobody's earned their freedoms more than a veteran has. So
we'll talk a little bit more about the events that you've got planned for July, but right now I think the thing that you touched on is the 22 a day, and really what's become an epidemic is the suicides at the Veteran Affairs centers. Talk about the importance of having a program like this, an outlet for veterans to be around each other. If there's one thing that I miss, it's the camaraderie.
Absolutely.
It's the ability to, you know, we may have not been in the same place at the same time, but you know, we share certain things. We've come from a past, we've come from a belief, we've come from a discipline. Talk to me a little bit about having that outlet.
Well, actually, it was the loss of camaraderie that we talked about that made us come up with the idea of beginning VetCatch in the first place. And you know, veterans, they learn to attract to one another. If you see a bunch of guys in a crowd, they kind of just magnetically move toward each other. You know, they speak a certain way, walk a certain way. We can smell each other out. And it's something that once they go back, you know, into the civilian population, a lot of times they have issues with trying to be able to relate with people, and just connecting them, veteran and veteran, you know, that's kind of the first step of making them comfortable so that they can let their guard down and relax and kind of make way with it. Like with our fishing trips, we always send them out at least as paired up. Nobody goes out just one veteran at a time. It's 2 veterans, so they can each kind of work with each other while they're out there, unless it's one of our larger trips and we go for 10. But it's for a veteran in the suicide epidemic. They're trying to make a statement and lash back against the system, and the thing is, it's difficult as a government with them trying to address veteran suicide. They look at it like, okay, they have the suicide hotline in place and stuff, and they have the doctors there at the VAs. But if you call the suicide hotline and you have an issue, well, the only thing they can really do is send out a police officer. And in most cases, when somebody's having those type of gestures, they're putting it out. We call them a bid, a battle in distress. If somebody comes on to one of the social medias or something and they throw out a bid, you can't just send a police officer to their house. They're going to lie and say nothing's wrong with them, or they're going to brush it under the rug. So working with the other veteran organizations, because there's nonprofits all throughout the country, we've been able to establish basically a whole network to where, determined by what the veteran's issue is, we can steer them in the right direction to get them the help that they need. And I dare to say that it's better than what the VA can give, because there's just so much of it out there that once you dive into that pool, you find all these resources that are just everywhere.
Jeremy, for the work that you guys do, and for those that have been out fishing in the Gulf, there's a cost that goes behind it. How are you guys funded, A, and B, how can folks help get behind what you're doing?
Well, like any other nonprofit, we have a PayPal, we have our website, it's www.vetcatch.org, and of course Facebook. Facebook is where our biggest following is, and we are actually, it's all private funded. People give a little here and there, and a little bit adds up. So as long as, I tell people that, hey, if you're going to say I'm going to give you $1, once a week, once a month, whatever, that if out of the thousands of people that follow us all stepped in and did that, well, that would have our operations running all the time. Now, of course, we also have some large events, that are coming up that are going to work for fundraising purposes. One of them not so much. That's our VetCatch Fishing Day, and that's it's more about just bringing everybody out. We're going to actually fish from land, so we can do mass numbers and just throw a big party, get out in the water, and have fun. And that's one of them. And of course, you can find out about all these events on our Facebook. But our biggest one for fundraising, we have a big one called Fire and Freedom. It's Bubba's Raceway up in Ocala. Mm-hmm. And that one is going to be probably the first event where we actually made a little hunk of change where we have a cushion for a while. Overhead right now stomping us because we don't have any corporate sponsorship behind us, but we're poking around and seeing what we can find. But it is going to be a big event. It's going to be they're estimating between 4,000 to 6,000 people, and it's going to be on pay-per-view. It's a whole stunt show of we have one world record holding stuntman coming in. Actually, I think he has like 3. And another stuntman's going to set himself on fire, crash into stuff. It's a whole lot of things going on that night.
Now, when you have these public and private partnerships, not only say with the American Legions, but say Bubba Raceway Park, say on a race night, how do you find that the community reacts to finding about you for the first time?
In most cases, when people hear about us, there's one of two things they're going to say. They're going to say, okay, well, we've never heard about that before, because we are growing and we do have a large Facebook following, but of course it's nationwide because we're partnered with Disgruntled Veterans, and they're half a million following Facebook page, so they get a lot of flow that's trickled down our way. But as for the individual areas, that a lot of times they hadn't heard it. Now, one of the things I have noticed is a lot of times people will say, well, that's kind of similar to what this veteran group that I know from down here does and this one does, so what makes you different? Well, for one, I tell people all the time, if there was only one star in the sky, I'd leave a whole lot of dark. All right, it's working together that we're able to tackle this problem, because it's such a big ordeal that we're trying to be able to deal with. Our nation has veterans everywhere. Homeless-wise, we're 100% more likely to be homeless, 300% more likely to commit suicide. You know, it's something that we all have to chip in for. But the one thing I could say that we do differently, that we're kind of kicking into place, is the hands-on part of it, where it's not just the fishing. It's going out and being together and meeting up. And then, of course, we also have somebody with a psychiatry degree that's working on putting together some PTSD support groups and stuff for us. We're going to start standing those up and everything. Just not so if you're not in the fishing, hey, we're coming for you on dry land. If you have issues, we're going to find a way to address it.
And I think the thing that's really important that we're going to touch on last is both you and your partner, the military experience. You speak from the heart, and you've walked the steps in those shoes. Talk to me about your guys' military experience.
Well, for us, I actually met Bill, and he was one of my soldiers in Germany, and stubborn guy. You know, he's always been known for being a bit of a smart aleck, and you know, that's kind of what got him chucked over to me, that he became my Joe. And you know, actually when we had first met, we kind of hated each other. We were just snarping at each other for everything. And then, of course, like always happens, you know, with the exposure, you know, we became tight, and now we're brothers. It's as close as family. And of course, you know, being in the military, you have that extended family that's out there everywhere throughout the United States and throughout the world still when you come out as a veteran. And we just kind of try to stay in touch with all of them. And that's another part of following up in the veteran community, is making sure you stay in touch with the people you know, you're talking to them, you're keeping tabs on them.
You know, you come highly recommended not only through our veteran services here in Polk County, but the Vet Center and some other individuals that really dig what you're doing. We've got about 30 seconds left, and I just want you to inspire folks that if they're veterans that need your help, or if they can help you in financial terms to help these veterans get out and get some help. I want you to have the last word. Inspire them to do as such.
Look, you know, if you're a vet, for one, don't be out there alone trying to be able to fight the struggle. You know, reach out. We have things that we can point you to be able to get you help. No matter what the situation is, just ask it. If I don't have an answer for you, I'm going to get it for you. You know, and then, of course, for everybody who wants to support what we're doing, hey, these, like I said, these are our nation's veterans. They fought for us, for the freedoms that we all enjoyed. Let's make sure that they enjoy it too.
Jeremy, it's been a pleasure having you in. I'm going to ask you on camera now. You'd like to come out and shoot some stuff on the boat with you if we could?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Just bring it, buddy.
I'm going to hold you to that, brother.
No, I'm going to warn you. I'm a terrible fisherman. You know, we have this thing. Fishing is a tool to be able to help people. But when it comes to me, I just get out there and mess up. So. But that's why we have charter captains.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for coming in, and look forward to hearing about some more of the great things you're going to do for our veterans in Florida. All righty. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. For more information on VetCatch, you can look them up on the web at www.vetcatch.org or give them a call at 813-690-2972. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests, Walt Godwin, John Duncan, Peg Parche, and Jeremy Gordon. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Polk County Veterans Service Office at 863-534-5220 or log on to the Polk County website at www.polk-county.net. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart, and we will see you next month.